Hello everyone, and welcome back to Hot News. In today's video, we're taking a moment to reflect on several American celebrities and a few international figures who have sadly passed away today and within the last few days. Before we begin, please show your support by giving this video a like. It truly means a lot to us. Now, let's get started. Donielle, who was 46, passed away on Tuesday, December 2nd at 8:34 a.m., according to an announcement on her official Instagram page. Her death came nearly a decade after she was diagnosed with stage 3C breast cancer in 2016, which later advanced to stage 4. She was remembered as a devoted wife, daughter, sister, friend, and a fighter who faced each day with extraordinary courage. Her spirit never faded, her heart never hardened, and even through the storm, she never lost her smile. The statement read. The hip-hop and jazz dancer first rose to fame on season 2 of So You Think You Can Dance in 2006, where her dynamic performances helped her earn third place behind Benji Schwimmer and Travis Wall. Donielle openly documented her battle with cancer online, proudly sharing that July 6, 2025 marked her first time teaching a dance class in 4 years. "I'm learning, with every twist and turn of this journey, how to navigate each season as it comes," she wrote. In one of her final videos posted just 6 days before her passing, she revealed she had begun preparing her affairs. Many in Hollywood honored her memory, including Yvette Nicole Brown, who called her "my dear friend," writing, "One of one. We love you, Donnie. Thank you for showing us how to live, fight, love, and dance." Musician Carlito Milford Jr., known as Poor Stacy, died on Saturday, November 29 following an incident in Boca Raton, Florida, police confirmed. Details surrounding the event and his cause of death have not yet been released. Authorities were called to a hotel where he had been staying for 10 days, and he was transported to a nearby hospital after a reported medical emergency. Travis Barker, who collaborated with Poor Stacy on tracks such as Choose Life and Nothing Left, paid tribute on Instagram, writing, "Rest in peace. You'll never be forgotten," alongside a video of their performance of Hills Have Eyes. Poor Stacy was known for blending emo rap, hip-hop, punk rock, and heavy metal, and had collaborated frequently with Bring Me the Horizon's Oli Sykes. He also appeared on the Grammy-nominated soundtrack for Bill and Ted Face the Music. Sykes honored him on Instagram with a photo and the message, "RIP," accompanied by a black heart. Poor Stacy's last release, Nothing Belongs to You, came out on July 8 of this year. Raquel Escalante, a Guatemalan pageant queen and television host, has died at 28 after publicly sharing her battle with cervical cancer. TV Azteca Guata announced the news on November 28, remembering her warmth, joy, and the special light she brought to every moment. Her smile, her energy, and her passion for communication will continue to inspire us, the tribute read. Escalante, crowned Miss Intercontinental Guatemala in 2021, built a large online following with over 87,000 Instagram followers and more than 324,000 on TikTok. She had shared in August 2024 that she had been hospitalized, and later, her cousin created a GoFundMe campaign revealing that she had been diagnosed with cervical cancer earlier in the year. Despite her declining health, she continued updating her followers throughout her medical journey. Fans filled the comments of her final TikTok post with messages of love. One wrote, "We will never forget you, Raquelita. You will always live in our hearts." Frank Urban Fuzzy Zoller Jr., American professional golfer and two-time major champion, has passed away at 74. Zoller won 10 PGA Tour events, including the 1979 Masters tournament, becoming only the third golfer ever to win the Masters in his first appearance, and the 1984 U.S. Open. Born in New Albany, Indiana, Zoller was a standout athlete from his high school days, turning professional in 1973. Both of his major victories were decided in playoffs. His 1979 Masters win marked the tournament's first-ever sudden death playoff. Zoller was also remembered for his sportsmanship and humor, including famously waving a white towel in jest at the 1984 U.S. Open after Greg Norman sank a dramatic putt to tie him. Zoller won the playoff the next day, and Norman returned the joke by waving a towel of his own. He was honored with the 1985 Bob Jones Award for Distinguished Sportsmanship and competed in the 1979, 1983, and 1985 Ryder Cups. Sally Kirkland Jr., a prolific American actress whose career spanned more than 60 years and over 250 film and television roles, has died at age 84. A member of Andy Warhol's famed The Factory and part of New York's 1960s avant-garde theater scene, Kirkland received widespread acclaim for her leading role in the 1987 film Anna. The performance earned her a Golden Globe, an Independent Spirit Award, a Los Angeles Film Critics Award, and an Academy Award nomination. Film. She also earned a Golden Globe nomination for her role in The Haunted, 1991, and appeared in such as Best of the Best, JFK, and Bruce Almighty. Born in New York City in 1941, she began her career as a model and even worked briefly as a go-go dancer before studying acting under Lee Strasberg and Uta Hagen. Kirkland passed away in hospice care in Palm Springs, California on November 11, 2025. NBA legend Leonard Randolph Lenny Wilkens, one of the most accomplished players and coaches in basketball history, has died at 88. He is one of the few individuals inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame 3 separate times, once as a player, once as a coach, and once as part of the 1992 U.S. Olympic Dream Team's coaching staff. Wilkens was named to both the NBA's 50th and 75th anniversary teams, and in 2022 was recognized as one of the 15 greatest coaches in league history. Over his remarkable career, Wilkens made 13 All-Star appearances, 9 as a player, 4 as a coach, won the 1979 NBA championship with the Seattle Supersonics, coached the 1996 Olympic gold-winning U.S. men's team, and retired with a then-record 1,332 career coaching victories. Born in Brooklyn in 1937, he grew up in the Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood and later founded the Lenny Wilkens Foundation for Children. Wilkens passed away peacefully at his home in Medina, Washington on November 9, 2025. He is survived by his wife of over 60 years, Marilyn Reed, their 3 children, and 7 grandchildren. Marion Wilson, the American nurse and beloved PBS fitness instructor who created the popular exercise show Sit and Be Fit, has passed away at age 87. Wilson launched the show in 1987 after noticing that many older adults in her aerobics classes were experiencing injuries. She developed a gentler, chair-based program tailored to seniors and individuals with limited mobility. The show became a national staple, airing on more than 100 PBS stations for decades. Wilson authored several health and fitness publications, trained professionals worldwide, and was inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame in 2017. She lived in Spokane, Washington, where the Sit and Be Fit program is produced alongside her daughter, Gretchen Wilson. Marion Wilson passed away at her home on November 5, 2025. Diane Ladd, the acclaimed actress whose career spanned more than 7 decades and over 200 roles, has died at age 89. A 3-time Oscar nominee for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Wild at Heart, and Rambling Rose, Ladd also won a Golden Globe and BAFTA for her role in the sitcom Alice. Her filmography includes classics like Chinatown, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Primary Colors, and Joy. Ladd was the mother of actress Laura Dern, with whom she appeared in multiple films and the HBO series Enlightened. Born Rose Diane Ladner in 1935, Ladd had deep literary roots and began acting in New York in the 1950s. She passed away at her home in Ojai, California on November 3, 2025. Clint Eastwood's story begins on May 31, 1930, when he was born in San Francisco weighing an impressive 11 pounds, 6 ounces, earning him the nickname Samson from hospital nurses. His parents, Clinton Eastwood Sr., an executive whose work shifted during the Depression, and Ruth Wood, a homemaker who later worked at IBM, welcomed a second child, Jean, in 1934. The Eastwoods moved often during the Depression, searching for stability like so many American families at the time. In 1940, the family finally settled in Piedmont, California, where they enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle with a pool, country club memberships, and separate cars for each parent. But Clint struggled academically, repeating a grade in middle school and attending summer school. At Piedmont High School, he was expelled after several pranks, including burning an effigy on school grounds. He finished his education at Oakland Technical High School, where his interest in academics remained minimal. Tall, athletic, and already growing into his 6 feet 4 inches frame, Eastwood excelled in swimming and basketball. Though he briefly appeared in a school play, he later joked that acting held no appeal for him at the time. After graduating in 1949, he drifted through various jobs, paper routes, grocery work, caddying, pool construction, and logging, experiences that later lent authenticity to his rugged on-screen characters. Drafted into the Army in 1951 during the Korean War, Eastwood served as a lifeguard and swimming instructor at Fort Ord rather than being deployed overseas. After his discharge in 1953, he returned to Los Angeles with a vague desire to try acting. A Fort Ord friend helped him land an introduction to director Arthur Lubin, who gave Eastwood a modest contract despite his rough acting skills. But his time at Universal was discouraging: botched lines, barely visible scenes, and even losing props to bigger stars like Rock Hudson. By 1956, he was dropped. Eastwood persisted, taking acting classes, working out, and supporting himself with tough labor jobs, including digging pools in the intense San Fernando heat. Bit parts in films such as Revenge of the Creature and Tarantula kept him afloat but offered little recognition. Everything changed in 1958, when a CBS executive spotted him by chance and recommended him for a new Western series. That show was Rawhide. Eastwood was cast as Rowdy Yates, the second lead, and the role transformed his life. Rawhide debuted on January 9, 1959, and quickly became a major hit. The schedule was grueling, 6 days a week, 12-hour days, but it brought Eastwood steady work and rising pay. His salary began at $750 per episode, and by the show's end, he earned a sizable severance of $119,000 per episode. Despite the fame and steady paycheck, Eastwood grew increasingly weary of playing Rowdy Yates. The character, a polite, clean-cut, morally upright young cowboy, felt bland and repetitive to him. Several directors on Rawhide complained that Eastwood seemed disengaged, too relaxed, even lazy, and noted his habit of showing up late or disappearing into his trailer for long stretches. One crew member admitted they simply avoided scheduling him first thing in the morning because he was reliably 30 minutes to an hour behind. Some chalked his tardiness up to an active nightlife with various women. Despite his being married, ironically, that laid-back presence, which irritated some directors, ended up serving him well. In late 1963, Rawhide's ratings were slipping and the show's scripts had lost their spark. Around that time, Eastwood's co-star Eric Fleming declined a role in a low-budget Italian western titled A Fistful of Dollars, to be directed by then-unknown filmmaker Sergio Leone. Actor Richard Harrison, who was also offered the role and passed, suggested Eastwood instead. During a break from Rawhide in 1964, Eastwood made the leap to Europe to film what would become the first entry in Leone's now legendary Dollars trilogy. The production was unlike anything Eastwood had experienced in Hollywood. The budget was minimal, actors spoke their own languages, Italian performers speaking Italian while Eastwood delivered lines in English, and the sets and equipment seemed crude compared to American standards. But Leone compensated for the lack of resources with visionary style. He recognized that Eastwood's natural reserve and minimalistic approach could be shaped into something mythic. Thus was born The Man with No Name, Poncho, ever-present cigar, narrowed eyes, and a cold, near-silent demeanor that did more with a glance than most actors did with dialogue. When A Fistful of Dollars premiered in Italy in 1964, it became an overnight smash, though Americans wouldn't see it until years later. Eastwood returned to Europe to complete the trilogy for a few dollars more in 1965 and The Good, The Bad and the Ugly in 1966, each film sharpening the character's mystique and further defining Eastwood's screen identity. By the time the trilogy reached the US in 1967, Eastwood had exploded into stardom. The understated anti-hero who had paid his dues on television was suddenly an international sensation. The trilogy laid the foundation for what would become the Eastwood signature: the stoic expression, sparse dialogue, decisive action, icy calm, ruthless efficiency, dry humor, and roguish magnetism. Capitalizing on his newfound clout, he founded his own production company, Malpaso, in 1967 with Irving Leonard, giving him creative control unheard of for most actors at the time. His first American Western Post Leone, Hang 'Em High, 1968, reinforced his appeal, and the action film Where Eagles Dare with Richard Burton showed he could thrive outside the Western genre. Throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s, Eastwood continued to expand his range with projects like The Outlaw Josie Wales, The Story of a Peaceful Farmer Turned Avenger, and Pale Rider, which he also directed to critical praise. But his most iconic reinvention came through director Don Siegel. In 1971, Eastwood introduced audiences to Inspector Harry Callahan in Dirty Harry, a role originally intended for Paul Newman and later Frank Sinatra. The script was ultimately reshaped around Eastwood's strengths: economy of words, decisive physicality, and steely resolve. Inspector Callahan became the ultimate hard-boiled cop. Brutally honest, unflinching, willing to bend any rule to capture criminals, and armed with the now famous .44 Magnum, he resonated deeply with audiences frustrated by rising crime and what they saw as a soft legal system. His famous taunt, asking a wounded suspect if he felt lucky, became part of American pop culture. The film was a box office triumph, though not without controversy. Some critics accused it of endorsing vigilantism and reactionary politics. Pauline Kael famously condemned it as a grotesque right-wing fantasy. None of that slowed its popularity. Eastwood reprised the role in Magnum Force, 1973, The Enforcer, 1976, Sudden Impact, 1983, and The Deadpool, 1988. Sudden Impact introduced another line that entered the national vocabulary: "Go ahead, make my day." Even quoted by President Ronald Reagan across the 1970s and 1980s, Eastwood showed he could do far more than play brooding tough guys. He made his directorial debut with the psychological thriller Play Misty for Me in 1971, proving he could handle suspense. In 1979's Escape from Alcatraz, he portrayed real-life inmate Frank Lee Morris in one of his most acclaimed dramatic roles. To everyone's surprise, two of his biggest moneymakers were the comedies Every Which Way But Loose, 1978, and Any Which Way You Can, 1980, which paired him with an orangutan and were dismissed by critics but adored by audiences. Asa director, he showcased his love of jazz with Bird, 1988, the Charlie Parker biopic that earned praise for its artistry and sensitivity. But the pinnacle of his Western career arrived with Unforgiven, 1992, a somber reflection on violence, myth-making, and morality. Playing a weary, reluctant gunman dragged into one final act of brutality, Eastwood created a film that was both tribute and critique of the Western genre, an achievement many consider his masterpiece. Eastwood's dedication to health and wellness has played a crucial role in sustaining a career spanning more than 70 years. His father, Clinton Eastwood Sr., died suddenly in 1970 at age 64 from an apparent heart attack at the family's Pebble Beach home. The shock of losing his father so young forced Clint to confront his own vulnerabilities. From then on, he committed himself to rigorous self-care, understanding that physical fitness was essential to remaining mentally sharp for the demands of acting and directing. His longtime physician, Dr. Harry Demopoulos, has described Eastwood as exceptionally fit throughout his life, someone who avoided fatty foods, took antioxidant supplements, exercised intensely, and prioritized sufficient sleep. Stress tests consistently showed he surpassed the equipment's expectations, illustrating remarkable cardiovascular health. Eastwood embraced a lean and green diet long before such eating became fashionable. As early as the 1950s, he sought out foods few Americans knew: yogurt, alfalfa sprouts, and by the 1960s he was promoting sushi to skeptical colleagues. His meals centered on lean proteins like salmon and chicken, paired with nutrient-rich vegetables like spinach, kale, broccoli, and asparagus. He consumed antioxidant-heavy fruits, blueberries, grapes, bananas, and practiced strict portion control. He limited sugars and refined carbohydrates, dismissed junk food like nachos or wings, and lived by a 90-10 rule: be disciplined 90% of the time and allow modest indulgence for the remaining 10%. For Eastwood, food was fuel, not entertainment. Exercise was equally central. Biographer Sean Levy has labeled him a lifelong gym rat who relished physical exertion. He kept active through golf, long walks, strength training, stretching, and swimming, a sport he excelled at in his youth and continued throughout adulthood. In the mid-1970s he added transcendental meditation to his regimen, practicing it daily, sometimes twice a day. The technique helped dissolve stress, improve clarity, and maintain emotional balance. Levy noted the stark contrast between Eastwood's meditative, introspective habits and the violent characters he portrayed, calling him a man of contradictions who embodied both troubling and admirable aspects of American identity. Still, even Eastwood has not escaped aging. After the sudden death of his longtime partner Christina Sandera in July 2024, friends observed noticeable decline. Sandera, 61, died from cardiac arrhythmia with atherosclerotic coronary artery disease as a contributing factor. She and Eastwood had been together for more than a decade after meeting at his Mission Ranch Hotel in Carmel by the Sea. Her passing reportedly devastated him. Insiders claimed he lost weight, appeared frail, and developed a pronounced stoop that made walking difficult. During the filming of Juror No. 2 in 2023-24, production reportedly halted on at least 3 occasions due to Eastwood needing medical treatment. Actor Phil Biedron wondered if the aging director could finish the film, though he ultimately praised Eastwood as the most generous filmmaker he had ever worked with. Eastwood completed the project at age 94, exemplifying the drive that had propelled him for decades. Between 2022 and 2023, Eastwood's near-total absence from public life sparked concern when he went over 450 days without being seen. His last appearance was at the AT&T Pro Am golf tournament in February 2022, a favorite local event near his Pebble Beach home. He skipped the 2023 tournament even though his son Scott was competing. Some friends worried about his declining vitality, though others insisted he simply valued privacy. His reappearance in April 2024 at a Jane Goodall event in Carmel reassured many. He looked thin but cheerful, chatting warmly with Goodall backstage. Asked how he stays motivated despite age, Eastwood shared a motto with Toby Keith during a golf tournament: he wakes up each morning determined not to let the old man in. Keith later wrote a song inspired by the phrase, and countless fans embraced it as a reflection of Eastwood's relentless resolve. Throughout his life, Eastwood has endured profound losses. His father's death in 1970 influenced his health choices permanently. Clinton Sr.'s memorial was held at the Church of the Wayfarer in Carmel, and he was cremated in nearby Pacific Grove. Eastwood's mother, Ruth, lived to 97, passing away in 2006 after seeing her son become a global icon. Perhaps his most complicated loss was Sondra Locke, his partner and collaborator for 13 tumultuous years. Locke, born Sandra Louise Anderson in 1944, earned an Oscar nomination for her film debut in 1968. She met Eastwood in 1972 but did not begin a romantic relationship with him until The Outlaw Josie Wales in 1975. Both were married at the time, she to sculptor Gordon Anderson in A Marriage of Convenience, and Clint still legally married to Maggie Johnson. Despite their separation, the couple became a Hollywood sensation. Locke starred with Eastwood in 6 films and was the only actress besides Meryl Streep to share top billing with him. Cinematographer David Worth later said you could practically feel their love through the lens, but the relationship was fraught. Eastwood's control over Locke's career stifled her independence, and during their years together she underwent 2 abortions and a tubal ligation, decisions she later reflected on with regret. Eastwood also carried on affairs, fathering 2 children with flight attendant Jacelyn Reeves, something Locke said she learned about only years later. Their relationship imploded in 1989 when Eastwood changed the locks on their home and moved her belongings into storage while she was away directing Impulse. Locke filed a palimony suit, igniting a years-long legal war. In court, Eastwood minimized their relationship, calling her first a roommate and then, under pressure, a part-time roommate, statements widely interpreted as efforts to limit financial responsibility. She eventually settled with a $1.5 million development deal at Warner Brothers, but later sued again, claiming the deal was a sham quietly funded by Eastwood to sabotage her career. A 1996 trial ended in a confidential settlement, though jurors later said they had been leaning in her favor. Locke's 1997 memoir, The Good, the Bad, and the Very Ugly, portrayed Eastwood as controlling and cruel. Locke died on November 3, 2018, at age 74 from cardiac arrest related to breast and bone cancer, with cardiovascular disease listed as a contributing factor. Her death went unannounced for 6 weeks, and no memorial was held. Some believe she requested privacy to avoid revealing her true age. Her ashes were returned to Gordon Anderson, her legal husband of 51 years. Eastwood never publicly commented on her death. Yet those close to him have said she meant more to him than the public realized. Publisher Bill Brown once quoted Eastwood calling Locke the love of his life. Cameraman David Worth lamented that Eastwood now avoids discussing their films. Eastwood's daughter Allison admitted Locke's tell-all book made her lose respect for her. Another significant loss came with the passing of Roxanne Tunis in June 2023. Tunis, a stuntwoman and Eastwood's partner from 1959 to 1973, died at 93. She was the mother of his daughter Kimber, born in 1964. Despite the complicated circumstances, Eastwood remained close to Tunis until her death. Family members said her devotion to him was sincere and unconditional. Kimber said her father was devastated. The most recent heartbreak was the death of Christina Sandera in July 2024. Sandera, Eastwood's partner for a decade, died suddenly of cardiac arrhythmia at age 61. She was a quiet presence in Eastwood's life but supported him at major events, from Oscars ceremonies to Cannes premieres. Her death certificate cited coronary artery disease as a contributing factor. Eastwood released a brief, heartfelt statement calling her a lovely, caring woman. His daughter Morgan described her passing as devastating. Reports suggested Clint's own health suffered afterward, though Scott Eastwood later reassured the public that his father was holding up even if visibly diminished. As Clint Eastwood marked his 95th birthday on May 31, 2025, he showed no intention of stepping away from filmmaking. In a recent interview with the Austrian newspaper Courier, he confirmed he is already preparing his next project, pushing back against suggestions that Juror Number 2 would be his final film. Retirement, he insisted, is nowhere on his horizon. Why shouldn't a man keep improving with age, he asked. He said he will continue working as long as he can keep learning, or until his mind gives out, whichever comes first. He remains passionate about filmmaking and openly critical of Hollywood's current reliance on sequels and remakes. In his view, if filmmakers have nothing new to offer, they should simply stay home.